Hello, this is Coca, music producer and sound engineer. So in this series of videos, I'm gonna try to explain every single plugin that comes stock with Logic Pro X. Logic, as we know, comes filled with plugins, effects, synthesizers, and samples, and samplers to help you with different aspects of music productions. But before you get into it, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell button so you get notified when I post the project sessions of my last 3 videos and coming projects for free. So without any further ado, let's get into it. Let's start with the synthesizer that comes stock with Logic, Alchemy. Alchemy is originally a Camel audio software before it was acquired by Apple in 2015. It is a powerful synthesizer with 4 oscillators. It is also a sampler, which is my go-to for 808s. And I load 808s by going to initialize presets. Go into source A, source B, or whatever you want. Import audio. Go to your sample libraries folder. Mine is in the desktop. I made it favorite so I can access it easily from here. Sampler, and then import. I always make voices on legato, voice on 1, so that means only one note can play. So if you play different notes, only one of them will be played. And this is the glide time. I always want it to be time in 64 milliseconds, and this around 64, 60, 70 on this entourage. So now you can also use this as a granulizer. Granulizing synthesis. Granulizer synthesis is a style of synthesis where you drag one sample, and this granular synthesis will split the sample or the audio signal into some very short milliseconds parts called grains. So we get a beautiful sound that sounds like a pad. That's what granular synthesis is. You can use Alchemy as a granulizer. You can do that by choosing your sample also, the same way we did with the 808. Import audio, production, and instead of choosing sampler, we can choose granular. But I don't use Alchemy as my go-to plugin for granular synthesis. I don't like it that much. It doesn't have that many options. But you can use it as a sampler. It is a beautiful sampler. Once you choose sampler mode, the sample or your 808 or your piano sample or your stab or your horn will be automatically tuned to the C key, to the key C on your keyboard. So you can't choose, you won't have to find the tune of your sample manually. Alchemy will do it for you automatically. While also you can choose the beautiful presets that come stock with Alchemy. Let's choose, for example, mallets. Let's choose this one. Dark alien bells. It has some very beautiful sounds. All you have to do is look and search for it. And also before you can, so by default you won't have this preset showing up on your plugin browser because you have to download them from Apple servers. You can do that by going to Logic Pro X, sound library, and then download all available sounds. This way we will download all the samples, all the presets, all the sound that comes with Logic, not only for Alchemy but for studio horns, for the pianos, the drums, the organs, the horns, and a lot of sounds that comes only from Logic, from Apple servers. So you have to download before you can get this preset showing up on your screen. And now let's go for drum kit designer. Drum Kit Designer is my go-to plugin when it comes to acoustic drums. Snare, cymbals, hi-hats. I literally have no acoustic samples in my samples folder because I know Drum Kit Designer will get me more than enough. All I have to do is download also the necessary files and samples from Apple's website. You can do that by going to the same way I did it. Sound library, and then download all available sounds. You can either access Drum Kit Designer from the instruments insert, or you can do that by right click and then insert new drummer track. The difference is when you add a drummer track as a drummer, you get more control over the drum samples. Let me show it. This is a Drum Kit Designer. You can see it is a Drum Kit Designer plugin. But you have a lot more access to how drums will sound. For example, you can choose the kick and snare, loud and complex. As you can hear, there is more fills and there is more complexity in the loop. And now simple and soft. You get more of a jazzy sound. You can add percussions like the shaker. A clap, a human clap. You can make it swing. Or you can also choose the hi-hat if open or close. You can also browse the different drummers that comes with Logic. Let's choose alternative and let's go for Indian indie pop. Loud and complex again. You can make a lot of fills. Let's choose Zach Garage Rock. So it is a very beautiful and very powerful plugin when it comes to acoustic drums. Let's go now for drum synth, the software instrument track. Let's choose drum synth. This is kinda straightforward. It's a drum synthesizer. You can actually make a kick or a snare from scratch, but if you spend a little time, you can actually get a cool sound kick, snare and percussions and samples inspired by the 808 sounds. Let's browse a little sample that comes with this drum synth. This is the hi-hat. Kicks. I mean, you can get creative with this. If you're you can make lo-fi with this music, with this type of kicks and snare. You can make, I don't know, alternative sounds. You can make your own sound with this kick and snare. Even if they sound dry and poor, you can make wonders if you know how to mix, if you know how to create stuff with these samples. Now let's go to FM1. FM1 is FM that stands for Frequency Modulation Synthesizer. You can get some beautiful sounding presets out of this little guy. Try it out. It comes stock. I mean, it's for free. Let's browse also the presets. This bass is, I mean, it's famous. Let's go for keyboards. Let's go to ESE. This is one of my favorites when it comes to pads. You can get some rich vintage retro pads from this one. If layered and mixed right, you can get some cool sounds. Give it a shot if you haven't already, guys. So let's check out some of the pads that comes with this analog pad. Damn, that's a cool one. And now let's check out ESM. I'm sorry I'm not taking a lot of time on every plugin, so the video won't be I don't know, 100 years long, if you know what I mean. I'm just checking out the basics, or the basics of every plugin. If you want in-depth videos of each plugin, you can leave a comment down below and I see if you can do it, and I will do it. And now for ESM. This one is a bass synth. What makes it unique is that every single preset is in mono mode. That means you can't play multiple notes at once. You can only play one, and if you play many, you'll get a glide which you can control with this knob right here. This is the glide knob. Perfect for lo-fi and retro vibe music. I don't use it that much though. Let's check out some of the presets that comes with the ESM. As you can hear, there is a glide. That's what makes the sound unique. I mean, there's this plugin unique. I mean, you can find places to use these basses if you're into this type of sounds. Maybe lo-fi, maybe retro, maybe bedroom pop, alternative pop. There's many utilities for this type of basses. Now let's go for ESP polyphonic synth. I've never used this one, to be honest with you guys, but since it says it's a polyphonic, means it can generate up to 8 voices. If you do work with this or try it out, please let me know in the comments how it sounds. Let's check out ES1/ES2. They are both almost the same synthesizers. This one is green. I don't know, it looks like Shrek or the Hulk. Let's check out ES2. These two plugins are kind of the same synthesizers. I used to use ES2 a lot before, but I settled on a different synthesizer, Serum. You can find or make some cool analog presets using these two plugins. I used to use ES2 to make a Reese bass, but it is a cool analog plugin. Now let's check out Quick Sampler. Quick Sampler is newly introduced in the latest 10.5 updates. It's the mere native sampler of Logic. You can choose which mode to use. Classic. Yeah, you can drag a sample. Let's drag a sample. When you want to drag a sample, if you want original mode, that means that a Quick Sampler won't edit anything of the sample automatically. You will have to do that manually, and that includes tuning, the loudness, everything of your sample. You will have to edit it manually. And if you choose optimized, Quick Sampler will do it manually for you. It will detect the root key of the dragged sample and try to tune it to C. Optimize the loudness. Now this is our 808. You will have to edit the settings so you can have glides, or you can find it, or you can edit the 808, make it your own. One shot mode, which is what you'd wanna do with the 808s, and even with vocal chops, of course. One shot means the sampler will play the sample only once and not a loop. only one play, and that's gonna it will not go into play it in loop mode, play it over and over and over and over again. It will only play it once, and this is useful for 808s and vocal chops, so we won't have many 808s playing at the same time or over and over again before going to the second grid or the second beat or the second. You can choose the play mode forward, which means it will play it this way, and reverse. Let me open up. On forward mode, as you can see, it plays it from the left to the right. That's forward. And if you choose reversed, it plays it from the left, from the right to the left. You can also fine pitch the 808s. Course, the glide. I mean, you can edit anything you want with the sample with quick sampler. Slice, which is where you can drag a loop, I don't know, a drum loop, a guitar loop, a piano loop, and quick sampler will automatically slice it up for you, and then you can choose which part of the loop to take. And then the recorder, where you can record your own stuff. Let's choose my microphone, and this is a test sound. This is a test. I mean, you can get pretty creative with.
This is a test sound.
And this is a test.
And this is a test.
And this is a test sound. This is a test.
And this is a test sound. This is a test. And this. So now let's go for the second plug from the next plugin, which is Retro Synth. So let me be honest with you guys, if you've never used this beast, you better start now. I can't remember exactly when it was released because I wasn't a Logic Pro user back then, but the synthesizer is literally in every project of mine. It produces a clean analog FM, which stands for frequency modulation, sounds from pads to leads to bass to plugs, etc. You can add vibrato. This is the vibrato. You can also add glides from here, mode oscillator, or you can choose oscillator 1, oscillator 2, or you can also add envelopes. You can also choose from the 4 different variations of synth engines. There is analog for classic sound like leads, pads and basses. Sync is for more of a violent, aggressive synth engine. You can use that to produce leads and or basses. Difference. Table, this is for a cleaner sound like pads, soundscape, analog atmospheric sounds for background, and to make the audio spectrum more fuller. As you can hear, it sounds like a bell. This will sound beautiful with reverb. You can add glide. You can turn it off. And FM, which is frequency modulation. This one is pretty obvious. It's for classic synthesized harmonic sounds such as bells, shimmers, electric piano, etc. And now for sampler, the king of the latest updates. This is the new trending sampler of Apple Logic Pro X, introduced in the latest update in 10.5. It's a multi-sampler, highly useful, and the successor of the XS24, which used to be the old sampler of Logic. Now this is the XS24. It can play the XS samples, of course, like the acoustic pianos that used to be in XS24, the drums, the keyboard, the orchestral sounds like the string, the choir, the pipe organ, the keyboards, everything is still the same. You can play the same sound. I use it also for 808s and horn stamps from time to time. Just like quick sampler, you can start using just by dragging a sample to the UI, choosing the algorithm mode, original or optimized. Let's drag a sample. Optimized as the same as quick sampler. It will optimize it. It means it will find the root note of the sample, will optimize the loudness and optimize the panning and everything about your sample. And original, it will keep the sample as the source file. You won't edit anything until you do it yourself. Let's choose optimized. Now as you can hear, there is the Celesta from the sample library and the 808 from my samples playing. You can choose which part of the sound to keep. Mapping, which will hide this part here, right here. And zone. It is a very powerful sampler. Now let's go for sculpture or sculpture. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm sorry. My English needs more work. Sculpture is a synthesizer also divided mainly into three sections: sound, engine, modulation section, which is right here and the middle, and global control sources right here. You can find some very cool presets. And don't be intimidated by the GUI of the plugin. It looks hard. It looks hard to understand, hard to play with, but it is easy once you understand what synthesis is and once you get around synthesis as a whole. This one is really calm. And now let's choose Studio Horns. Studio Horns provides a high quality single and section brass instruments. Here is the single part or the sections part. I love how the interface makes the use interaction easy and more human. You can find the humanized part, which can edit the velocity and the length of every note you play in your piano roll or in your keyboard. You can edit the volume. This is pretty obvious. The release, the length of every note, the vibrato. You can customize the different aspects of the horns, of course, but I really do, since almost all the sound that comes out of studio horns are pretty much ready to be layered and be used. Let's choose Soul sections. Also, all the sound that comes from studio horns need to be downloaded, and they don't come per default through Logic Pro. You have to download the files. I don't know what the size is exactly, but they weigh gigs and gigs of sound. Let me play with this one, Soul section. I am not a good keyboard player, so please bear with me. Just bear with me, guys. The different articulations that comes with studio horns, like staccato, sustain, or falls. Let's choose fall long. Let's choose full shorts. Shake. Deutsch. You can play with the different articulations. Let's go for studio strings. This one is just as horns, except that is dedicated only for strings and violins. I saw different videos around the internet where people literally use these studio strings to produce such a wonderful cinematic productions with different articulations like sustain, staccato, spiccato, crescendo, the pizzicato, the trill, the tremolo, the scoop. You can find what you're looking for using the studio strings. Also, the samples of this plugin needs to be downloaded. Let's jump in and hear some of the sound that comes in with the studio strings. String ensemble. This is the section of the strings. Just make sure to download all the required files for using studio strings. You can find this again by going to Logic Pro X sound library and download all available sounds. If you download all the available sounds that for Logic Pro X as a whole, Apple says it's 96.6 gigs. So make sure you have 96.6 gigs available on your hard drive, and good luck. Let's choose different articulations. Let's choose pizzicato. Spiccato. It has like a short release. And sustain. Let's go for accented sustain. Let's choose a tremolo. Let's go for trill semi. Let's go for whole. Now let's go for Ultra Beat. Ultra Beat is a synthesizer that is designed to create percussive sounds and polyphonic rhythms. It also incorporates a powerful step sequencer, which you can use. This is the step sequencer, which you can use to create polyphonic rhythmic sequences and patterns, just like FL Studio. A lot of people still uses a lot of Ultra Beat as their sampler, instead of sampler or quick sampler that comes with the latest update. I never used this plugin to be honest, but it has such a history with drum rhythm design. It's the equivalent of FL Studio pattern sequencer before Apple introduced that same function in the latest 10.5 updates. So to design your own rhythms using Ultra Beats, you have to go drag and drop samples. This is the preset where you want to choose to drag your samples, your kicks, your snares, your hi-hats, and drag them to samples here, and then you can sequence your rhythm right here. Let's go for vintage B3 organ. This is self-explanatory with this beautiful realistic interface. It's an organ plugin that produces such a rich and heavy organ sounds that you can mistake it for a real organ, with all those functions and options to edit, and then the pedals like the lower, the upper pedals, the vibrato, the chorus, distortion, and percussion. You can definitely find what you're looking for. I use it a lot in my lo-fi productions as a background sound since it enriches the audio spectrum. You can use it for pads, leads, hybrid keys, etc. You know the drill. Use it, guys. Let us browse some of the presets or some of the sound that comes from vintage B3. Now let's go to vintage clav. This is a clavinet. Apple states in their website this clavinet emulates the classic Hohner D6 clavinet. It's a beautiful clavinet generator with a clean, simple user interface. Let's browse the presets once again. This is like a low pass and high pass filter. This is the decay. Now let's choose the vintage electric piano. This is self-explanatory also. It has some very cool classic vintage piano sound. Let's go for the hip roads. It's a road sound. This is like the perfect plugin for lo-fi producers and lo-fi music makers, bedroom pop music makers. I don't know, some for indie music. You can choose, browse, and find the preset that you're looking for. You can also edit the sound, the chorus, if you don't want any chorus, the bass boost, drive, which is basically distortion, EQ, phaser, and tremolo. Let's make the tremolo harder. Let's check the detail tab, the pitch, voices, which is how many voices the sound the vintage piano will play. If you choose one, only one note you can play. Only one note will gonna be gets played from your chord. Like if you can see here, I'm playing 3 notes, and only one of them is being triggered. That's because I have one voice. So if you wanna hear all the 3 notes, I'm gonna have to choose at least 3 notes and voices, 3 voices. So if I choose 2, only 2 notes are gonna be played from the vintage. You can hear this is only the sound of 2 notes randomly chosen that are being played. So I'm gonna have to choose at least 3. Now all the 3 notes that I'm clicking in are being played. Now let's choose vintage Melotron. This one is I see it as a weird plugin. I don't know why. It has some really dramatic sound. You can choose sound B. Let's choose flute. This is the knob to choose to balance between the sound A and sound B. If it's all the way left, that means only sound A that is playing. If it's all the way right, it is only sound B that is playing. And if in the middle, both of them are playing, you can balance between the 2 of them. So that's it for the part 1 of this video. For this series of video explaining all the plugins that come stock with Logic Pro X. And in the coming video, I'm going to explain the effects that comes with Logic. All these effects are going to be explained in the next video. So if you don't want to miss it out, make sure to subscribe and hit the like button and turn on the bell notification. That's the most important one. Activate the bell button so you got notified when I post the next video explaining the next plugins or the effects plugins that comes with Logic Pro X. So thank you for watching, and please don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for watching and stay safe. Peace.